Welcome, everybody, to Kickin' It with Crowder, episode 33. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I am your host, Tyler Crowder. I am in the Columbus podcasting studio today, so thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And today I'm going to be bringing you my mock draft 2.0. I already released one earlier in a few weeks ago. Now I'm releasing my second one, guys. So stay tuned for some very, very interesting picks. I have some SEC guys you may be familiar with going very, very high in the draft. So I've had some players move up. I've also had some players slide as well. So I'm excited to bring this to you today. And don't forget to comment, like, and share down below, guys, for those of you who are following me on the Facebook Live. But we will be putting out all this post-editing stuff tomorrow or the next day, guys. So stay tuned for that. And if you cannot... If you don't already follow me on Facebook, guys, you can find me on Facebook. I am also on YouTube, the Apple podcasting app, and also Spotify and the iHeartRadio app, guys. So if you do not already follow me, guys, go ahead and click this down below. Give it a like, share it so more people can get involved, okay? So with that being said, I just want to go ahead and get started with my first annual NFL Kicking It with Crowder mock draft. This is my second mock draft, guys. So with that being said, the Cincinnati Bengals are now on the clock. So the Cincinnati Bengals have had this number one pick for a few months, guys. They have a lot of holes to fill on that defense. Also, the quarterback situation could be addressed very early for them. But they're not just one player away. They need a lot of weapons. And right there at the top of the draft, and you'll ask most people, he is the top-rated player on most big boards. He is number 4 on my big board. But quarterback Joe Burrow, LSU, threw 60 touchdowns this past year, 6'4", 220 pounds. He is an Ohio kid at heart, so I would be very, very excited for the Cincinnati Bengals to select him. He's a winner. He's very competitive. He's got a very good high football IQ, and also his dad was a coach. So the 2019 tape definitely did not lie. He had a lot of weapons around him, 2 stud wide receivers, also 2 offensive linemen that are going to get drafted this year, Hilaire Edwards, the running back. So Joe Burrow had a lot going on this past year, but I will say that Joe Burrow will be the number 1 pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. So with that being said, with the first pick overall, they could go Chase Young here, but or trade out of the spot. But with the first overall pick in my Kicking It with Crowder mock draft 2.0, I have Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU, being selected to the Cincinnati Bengals. So with that being said, that is going to bring up, you're going to hear this again, and that being said, the number 2 overall pick now belongs to the Washington Redskins. So now the Washington Redskins are on the clock, and they bring in Ron Rivera from the Carolina Panthers, who let him go this past year. Got a heck of a coach, really, really good coach, and I'm excited to see some leadership being brought into Washington. We know their GM, we know their owner have not got it done the past 20 years or so. I think Ron Rivera is an upgrade over Joe Burrow. Over John Gruden, who was the former coach for the Washington Redskins. So Ron Rivera steps in, and there's a possibility you select Tua Tagovailoa at number 2, but I actually have them going defense, and they've already got 4 or 5 first-round picks on that defensive line. I have them adding another one. So with the number 2 overall pick, the Ohio State Buckeyes, number 2 pick, the Washington Redskins select Chase Young, defensive end, the Ohio State University. And Chase Young, guys, I'm not sure if you got to watch a lot of his tape this past year. He's the number 1 rated player on my board. So he's the number 1 overall rated player on the board. He's very, very good with his hands. He's got a quick bull rush, but also can hit you with on the edge with his speed. So he's a speed rusher, bull rush type player. Got him graded at a 97 overall. So he's a top tier impact day 1 player. You're going to put him into the lineup, and he's going to be a starter day 1, possibly could produce very, very many sacks this next year. I predict over 10 sacks this year for Chase Young. He actually had 16.5 sacks this past year at Ohio State. So he's a high impact player from day one, and I'm really, really excited to see Chase Young translate to the NFL. Reminds me a lot of a Myles Garrett type player. So he was a 5-star player coming out. He's a very, very highly touted player, my number 1 player on my board, but I have him going number 2 to the Washington Redskins. So with that being said, now that puts the Detroit Lions on the board at number 3, and the Detroit Lions, they could use a lot. They've traded away their playmaker cornerback Darius Slay, also let Damian Harrison go, so big voids at defensive tackle and cornerback, and that's kind of really what it came down to me here with the pick. It was either Jeff Okudah, the cornerback from Ohio State, or Derek Brown, the big defensive tackle from Auburn. In my first mock draft, I did have Okudah going number 3, but just the more tape I watch, the more I hear about Derek Brown, the more and more intriguing of a pick he is to me at number 3. Kind of reminds people of an Ndamukong Suh who did start his career with the Detroit Lions. So with the 3rd overall pick in the Kicking It with Crowder mock draft 2.0, I actually have the Detroit Lions selecting Derek Brown, defensive tackle from Auburn. So the reason I went there is just the guy is a playmaker. He's a dancing bear. I mean, he's 6'5", 320 pounds. He's a very, very good player, is going to be a run stopper immediately. As soon as he steps on the field, he is going to be a first and second down type player. Can even produce some pass rushing down the road from the interior. But Derek Brown, man, the more and more you watch his film, I mean, he is a stud. They don't make guys like Derek Brown. They just don't make them that big, that massive, who are light on his feet as well. I mean, the guy ran like a 5'1", 40. I mean, he's a big, big guy running and coming after people. He's going to plug in day one and start. And I really, really think Derek Brown is the pick for Detroit at number 3. I would not be shocked if you did see Jeff Okudah, cornerback from the Ohio State, come in at number 3. But I got Derek Brown from Auburn going at number 3 overall, guys. So what do you think about that? My first 3 picks, guys, I got Joe Burrow, Chase Young, and Derek Brown coming off the board, guys. You agree, disagree? Let me know down below. So I'm going to continue this mock draft, and if you hear that sound, you know who it's the next team is coming up on the board, and that puts the New York Giants coming in with the 4th overall pick. That now they are on the clock. So last year they shook the world and took Daniel Jones, cornerback from Duke last year, and he actually had a surprisingly good season. 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Does have to hold on to the football, and one part of holding on to the football is getting one of these big nasty linemen to come block for Daniel Jones. You could also see the Giants' new GM. You could see them go off outside linebacker right here with Isaiah Simmons, but with the number 4 overall pick in this draft, I am going offensive tackle for the Giants to protect that prized possession you just traded up for last year. So I actually have them selecting with the 4th overall pick. The New York Football Giants select offensive tackle Jedrick Willis from Alabama, another guy who is 6'5", 320 pounds, going to make an impact from day one. You're going to plug him in. He's going to play right tackle for you day one. If you've watched any of his tape, his 2018 tape matched up with his 2019 tape. Actually did not give a sack up this past season. He's got a mean, nasty streak to him. Jedrick Willis, I got him as my number 1 offensive tackle on the board, and I got him going to the Giants at number 4, guys. So you could also see them go linebacker. I would not be shocked if you saw them get Isaiah Simmons if he is still on the board. But I just think with what you got to do protecting the quarterback and everything, I got them selecting Jedrick Willis, offensive tackle from Alabama. So with the 5th pick that this puts on the clock, the Miami Dolphins are now on the clock. So this is a team with 3 first-round draft picks. They have a lot of capital to maybe move up in the draft. Been linked to maybe trading up with Detroit, giving up 5, 18, and possibly 39 overall pick to get up and get to it. If I was the Detroit Lions, I would very, very highly consider that that you probably get one of your two guys at 5, either Jeff Okudah or Derek Brown, if those are the two guys you want. So Detroit could definitely trade this pick to Miami, but I got Miami staying pat right here in this draft. Did not do any NFL mock draft trades. So I do have the Miami Dolphins, and they need a lot. They did have a good offseason. They signed Byron Jones. They signed some players that are going to make an impact for them, but they need the quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the answer, and Josh Rosen, he certainly hasn't proved anything in his first 2 years in the NFL. So with the 5th overall pick in the NFL, my NFL mock draft 2.0, I actually have the Miami Dolphins, and you could see them go Justin Herbert here, but I actually have them selecting Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback from Alabama. The only issue with him, guys, is the injury. You don't hear anything about what he can't do on the football field. He can make all the throws. He's got great feet, quick release. If they can scheme, whoever has him, if they can scheme him and get the ball out early and really protect Tua, I think it's a great investment for them. Miami hasn't had a quarterback since Dan Marino. They passed on Drew Brees because of an injury issue in 2006. You don't want to get burned again and pass on Tua Tagovailoa, and he turns into a Drew Brees type player. So with the 5th pick, I got Miami Dolphins selecting Tua Tagovailoa, a quarterback from Alabama. All right, guys. So with that being said, that now puts the LA Chargers on the clock, and the LA Chargers, guys, they have a lot to deal with. Their defense is very, very good, but they may replace the quarterback. They could also go outside linebacker here, Isaiah Simmons, to kind of pair with Derwin James. They're very similar type players. So Isaiah Simmons, I had him going 6 to the Chargers in my first mock draft, but the more I think about it, Justin Herbert has really killed this process. He has done great in the Senior Bowl. He did good at the Combine. His senior tape matches up with 32 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. He's big. He's strong. He's got a big arm. And I have him being selected with the number 6 overall pick to the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Los Angeles Chargers with a 6th pick select Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon. Like I said, smart, athletic quarterback, can kind of replace Phillip Rivers, who's been there the past 15 years or so. I really think that Justin Herbert, he's a West Coast guy. He's from Oregon. He'd kind of fit in out there, and I think that Justin Herbert is going to step in. Probably won't start from day one, but I would definitely see him taking over the realm at some point this season. So I got Justin Herbert starting half the season this year for the Los Angeles Chargers and building on that in the future. So if you're staying around, guys, I have some really good players still left on the board. So stay tuned for that. If you're watching on Facebook right now, guys, don't forget to comment. Don't forget to like down below. Share this. Let more people see it. And of course, we are live on Facebook, but we have all the post editing and everything coming up here. What's up, Tyler, man? Thank you for watching today. Okay. All right. So now, with that being said, that is going to put the Carolina Panthers are now on the clock in my NFL mock draft 2.0, and the Carolina Panthers, they want to knock this pick out of the park because this is Matt Rule's very first pick with this organization. Carolina Panthers are in a new direction. They've released Cam Newton and now given Christian McCaffrey a big contract for a running back. So Matt Rule really needs to hit this. He's got some job security, so he can get a little risky on this. He's got a 5-year deal, so he'll at least get 3 years out of that deal at least. But coaches, if you don't win, you can be out early. So he's got to hit this pick, and I don't see them passing on this player right here at number 7. They need to replace a Luke Kuechly who retired this past year. They lost Thomas Davis a few seasons ago. Really haven't replaced him. So with the 7th overall pick, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting outside linebacker from Clemson, Isaiah Simmons. And the tape on Isaiah Simmons is unbelievable. He played slot corner. He played safety this past year. He played linebacker. He edge rushed. I mean, the guy is 6'4", ran a 4.3940 at 6'4", 240 pounds. He is going to make an impact day one, and I would not be surprised if he leads the league in tackles at some point. He is that type of player. Very good in his coverage skills, and also You could see Carolina look for an interior defensive lineman here, possibly Derek Brown if he's on the board, or a Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina. But also Jeff Okudah, if he's still there at number 7, which I have him here at number 7, he could possibly go here at number 7. But I got Isaiah Simmons coming in at number 7 overall to the Carolina Panthers. So that now puts on the clock the Arizona Cardinals are now on the clock, and with the 8th overall pick, you could see them go a couple different ways. I know they've been rumored they want to protect their asset they got last year in Kyler Murray, the number 1 overall pick. Had a great season, won AP Rookie of the Year. They go get DeAndre Hopkins and get him not even for a first-round pick, so they won that trade. So they get DeAndre Hopkins with 3 years left on his deal. Probably will have to restructure that to keep him around, but I think they're going to want to protect him, and you could go any 3 ways right here. You could go Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle from Louisville. You could also see Andrew Thomas from Georgia, offensive tackle, or you could see a Tristan Wirfs, offensive guard from Iowa. But with the 8th overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals in my mock draft 2.0, I have them selecting Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle, Louisville, and you watch the tape on him. He is a very, very good player, guys. He is going to plug in and play right away. He is still a little bit raw, so you could see him possibly play. He's projected as an offensive tackle, but you could probably play him day 1 at guard, and then hopefully he projects into a defensive an offensive tackle, but we'll see what happens there. You watch the tape on him. He ran a sub 5.40, very, very quick, got great hands, can get downhill very fast. More of a run blocker than a pass blocker right now, but I'm very, very interested to see what Mekhi Becton kind of projects to, because what he's done in this draft process, he shot up a lot of boards, and I really, really like him coming in for the Arizona Cardinals and playing right away and giving Kyler Murray that protection that he needs. So with the 9th overall pick, that now puts the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. You're going to hear the little sound right there, and that puts the Jacksonville Jaguars now on the clock. And this is a team in full rebound mode right now, guys. They have traded away some players, Calais Campbell, also Jalen Ramsey. They lost Dante Fowler. That was the wrong one. So they play. Sorry about that. All right. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, they trade Calais Campbell, they trade Jalen Ramsey, they lose Dante Fowler. So what do they need? They need interior defensive lineman, they need a cornerback. They need a lot of stuff. And with the 9th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Mock Draft 2.0, I had the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Jeff Okudah, cornerback, Ohio State. And this is a guy I had number 3 overall in my past mock draft, guys. So I had him sliding a little bit, and basically I had him sliding because I think that Derek Brown possibly gets picked by the Lions. So if Okudah does not slide past number 3, you could see him landing in Jacksonville at number 9. He is a very, very good player. I think that he fits in with what they want to do in Jacksonville. If you look at Tom Coughlin, what he did with the Giants, they want an edge rusher. They want guys getting after the quarterback, and then they want to lock these guys up with cornerbacks. So got Jeff Okudah, guys, going number 9 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let me know what you think down below so far. I am almost finished with my top 10 picks. So, guys, thank you so much for following. If you haven't already, like it on Facebook or Apple, Spotify, anything like that. All right, so that now puts the Cleveland Browns at number 10 overall. They are now on the clock, and what you can see with the Cleveland Browns, man, they need to protect Baker Mayfield. They need to protect him, and I think they will go offensive tackle at Cleveland. You could also see them if a guy, maybe possibly Isaiah Simmons, falls to 10 overall. You could see them go there, but with the 10th overall pick in my draft, in my first one, I actually had offensive tackle Andrew Thomas from Georgia going to the Cleveland Browns, but I've changed it up, and I'm going Tristan Wirfs, offensive guard, Iowa. Like I said, with all these guys, he's got great hands. He's been taught well at Iowa. They've been putting guys in the league for the past few seasons, so I'm really, really excited to see what what Cleveland and their new GM do with this first-round pick. They also have an NFL draft. They also have a new GM. So it's his first draft. It's their head coach's first draft. So they decided to go with Baker Mayfield this next past season. They did sign Case Keenum, but they need to protect Baker Mayfield, and I think they do that here with Tristan Wirfs at number 10, guys. If you'll give me just a second, I'm filling out my mock drafts as I go to make it easier for me. See which players. All right, so I got Willis going 5. Then we got Tua Tagovailoa going 5 guys, and I got 6. I got Justin Herbert. 7, Isaiah Simmons. 8, I got Becton. 9, I got Jeff Okudah. And then I got Wirfs. All right, that makes it so much easier, guys. I'm sorry for that, but we got our first 10 picks out of the way right now. So with the 11th overall pick, this now puts the New York Jets, and they are on the clock. What's up? What's up, Coach Drew? How you doing? Thank you for watching. All right, so number 11 overall pick. This is a new GM. This is his second season as a GM, but he got selected as a GM after their draft last year. So this is gonna be his first overall pick with the New York Jets. Really needs to solidify him and get Sam Darnold a weapon. And with a receiver draft that is absolutely loaded, you could go 3 ways right here. You could get you Henry Ruggs, wide receiver from Alabama. You could go CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver from Oklahoma. But I actually have them selecting my number 1 overall wide receiver in this NFL draft, NFL ready guy who I think can produce next year and have a 1,000-yard season in his rookie year, and that is Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver from Alabama. So I have the New York Jets selecting him at 11, and Sam Darnold really needs a playmaker on the outside. Jerry Jeudy can play outside, he can play inside. He runs great routes. He's one of the best route runners to come out in the past 20 years. He's also a physical guy. Ran a 4.5 at the 40. Can be more physical than people think. Everyone thinks physicality, CeeDee Lamb in this draft, but I will tell you, Jerry Jeudy, you watch the tape on him, he's a very physical player, and I think he's going to do wonders for Sam Darnold and his development. So Jerry Jeudy with the 11th overall pick going to the New York Jets at 11. So with the 12th overall pick, now that puts the Las Vegas Raiders on the clock, and Las Vegas Raiders, what you can see here with them picking at 12, they got the 12th overall pick. They got the 19th overall pick. They did sign Marcus Mariota in the offseason, and they also have a Derek Carr on the roster. So I don't see them going quarterback here, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did select a quarterback with one of the first 2 picks. I have them actually selecting a wide receiver to pair with, either Derek Carr or Marcus Mariota, whoever's going to win that job. They need a guy on the outside. They lost out on the Antonio Brown because he just couldn't act right. But I have them selecting with the 12th overall pick, the Las Vegas Raiders select CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma. If you watch the tape on him, a lot of comparisons to DeAndre Hopkins. Very physical receiver. Ran, sub 4.4 at the 40, but will go up and get it. I mean, some of his catches he made, I know he made one in the Senior Bowl or the Combine that didn't even count. I don't think he got his feet in, but him just going up and getting the ball, he's special talent. This is the deepest wide receiver draft I've seen in a long time, and I think CeeDee Lamb makes an immediate impact. A lot of people have him as the number 1 overall receiver on this draft. I have him as my number 2 overall receiver, Jerry Jeudy at number 1, and now CeeDee Lamb coming off the board right after Jerry Jeudy at number 12 to the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's their first pick going to Las Vegas. I think the Las Vegas fans, the new fans who are going to be in Las Vegas, can definitely get on that CeeDee Lamb train. He's going to have a heck of a career. Should make an immediate splash his first year. Look for a second year, though, to really take off, possibly an all-pro type season in his second year. All right, guys, and that now puts the San Francisco 49ers on the clock. So the San Francisco 49ers had traded. They traded their They traded this pick to the Indianapolis Colts, had the 13th overall pick. They trade DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts for this 13th overall pick. And everything I'm hearing is that the San Francisco 49ers should go wide receiver. And like I said, we got the 11th overall pick of receiver, 12th overall pick of receiver. Why not stop there? Let's keep it going at 13. And I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Henry Ruggs, wide receiver, Alabama. I think that his explosiveness, I don't know if y'all have got to watch his, he's got a mixtape out there for basketball out there just dunking on people, really flying through the air. He's a very explosive guy, great in the long jump and all that in high school, track speed, really will translate, ran a 4.28 in the combine. So John Lynch and I know Kyle Shanahan will know what to do with a receiver like Henry Ruggs, but I have Henry Ruggs going 13th overall and giving Jimmy Garoppolo a new weapon at 13. So we are 13 picks in, guys. It has been it's been a quick draft. I did this mock draft earlier, and then I am also picking the players over here on the side. I got to remember to do that every pick. Okay, so this now puts the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everybody's new fan base. I know a bunch of you weren't Tampa Bay Bucs fans before, so don't act like you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan now, okay? They get rid of Jameis Winston. They bring in Tom Brady, and you could see them possibly go a couple different scenarios here at 14. I know they've been rumored to maybe want to move up and get one of these talented offensive linemen, one of the big four. Also, you could see them maybe getting Tom Brady, one of his little gadgets out of the backfield, in a DeAndre Swift. Had DeAndre Swift going here at number 3 overall. At number 14 overall in my first mock draft. But I've changed my mind. I think that they want to protect Tom Brady. They probably only have him for about 2 seasons. So they want to protect him while he's there. And with that 14th overall pick, some of you UGA fans are going to be excited hearing this name. I have them selecting Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle, UGA. Great hands, great. He's probably the best pass blocker in this draft with all the offensive tackles. He's only a junior, so he's young. He's 21 years old. Once he gets your hands on you, man, good luck with that. Andrew Thomas, he started for all 3 years at UGA. I have him as the 4th offensive lineman coming off the board, but wouldn't be shocked if a team maybe went up early and traded up to go get an Andrew Thomas. So you could see him go anywhere from the number 1 offensive lineman off the board to the number 4 offensive lineman board. I have them Willis, Becton, Wirfs, Thomas, but I've seen them in any kind of way you could see those guys getting drafted. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from UGA. All right, guys, so let me go ahead and just do this on my pick. And there he is right there, top available player. All right, guys, so that is going to put on the clock the Denver Broncos. And you're going to hear that on the clock. So now the 15th overall selection, the Denver Broncos are now on the clock. And John Elway, he's kind of missed on some very, very high impact players in the past. Had to get the quarterback situation right. I think he does have it right with a Drew Lock, a quarterback from Missouri. Had a great rookie year this past year when he did step in and play. But what do they do here at 15? If Henry Ruggs or one of these receivers is there at 15, you could easily see him pick him and get Drew Lock another weapon to go along with Cortland Sutton. They already have another receiver from the Denver Broncos, but they could pair him up with a very athletic Henry Ruggs or maybe a CeeDee Lamb or Judy if they are on the board there. But with losing Aqib Talib a few years ago, and now you lose Roby 2 years ago, and then this past year you lose Chris Harris, your cornerbacks are kind of depleted in a sense. And this is a guy I would be very, very high on if the Atlanta Falcons were able to get him at 16. Unfortunately, I think they're going to have to trade up to get this player I'm talking about, the Atlanta Falcons, because I actually have him going at 15 to the Denver Broncos. And with the 15th overall selection in my mock draft 2.0, I have the Denver Broncos selecting cornerback C.J. Henderson from Florida, and man, he has got some great tape on him. Once he makes some plays, he is going to. Once he gets on the field, he's going to make plays. He's a 2-time first-team All-SEC guy, 11 pass breakups this past season. Started 5 games as a true freshman at the University of Florida. So the game definitely translate. Was a 4-star guy coming out of high school. Really developed into a very, very good player. And I have him as my number 2 cornerback coming off the board, C.J. Henderson from the University of Florida. So that brings us now with this pick right here. You're going to hear it on the ticker. Here it is. Okay. And that is when NFL fans hear that and you know your team's on the clock, it's an exciting time. And with the 16th overall pick, that brings the Atlanta Falcons. And with the Atlanta Falcons and Thomas Dimitroff have done the past few seasons, the last 2 seasons, it's unacceptable for the talent they have on the field. And with Thomas Dimitroff trading up and getting 2 offensive linemen this year and passing on players such as a Brian Burns or a Montez Sweat, who were drafted right after them this past year, Thomas Dimitroff needs to go get him one of these big defensive linemen. I truly, honestly believe that you win and lose in the trenches. So you got to protect the offense. You got to protect the quarterback on offense, and you also have to get after the quarterback on defense. I truly believe that's where you win games. And I think if Javon Kinlaw is here, defensive tackle from the University of South Carolina, I don't see how the Atlanta Falcons could pass up on him. The Atlanta Falcons are rumored to possibly go get an Isaiah Simmons to trade up or a C.J. Henderson. If they do not trade up and they stand pat and Javon Kinlaw is 16, that's who I have the Atlanta Falcons taking at pick number 16. And I think he's got a high motor. I don't know if any of you know this. Javon Kinlaw actually grew up homeless. So the guy has a lot to play for. He's one of those NFL stories you hear a lot about. His past, it fueled him to where he is today. And I really like the tape on Javon Kinlaw. One of his best tapes last year was against Georgia, who had a very, very big offensive line. A lot of those offensive linemen are going to be playing on Sundays, and he just absolutely wrecked the game from snap number 1. So I got Javon Kinlaw coming in as the 16th overall pick to the Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, we're going to take a short break, just a little, get some water real quick, kind of refuel for the bottom half of the draft. So, guys, I will go on the live and answer some questions and things like that because I haven't been able to communicate. So, guys, stay tuned. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, guys? All right, welcome back, everybody, to Kicking It with Crowder. We are halfway through the NFL mock draft 2.0. This is my second mock draft I'm dropping, but I wanted to just change some things up, have some players moving up, some players moving down, guys. So thank you so much for joining me today. So the Atlanta Falcons selected Javon Kinlaw with the 16th overall pick, and now with the 17th overall pick, some of you NFL fans, I know you want to hear this sound in just a week or so. And that puts the Dallas Cowboys, Jeremy Davis, where you at, man? The Dallas Cowboys on the clock. And what are the Cowboys going to do after missing the playoffs last year, in which was probably one of the worst divisions in the history since the playoffs have been going on? Just not a very good division. The Giants weren't good. The Redskins weren't good. Dallas Cowboys had all the chances in the world to get into the playoffs, and then anything can happen. But they did miss the playoffs. Carson Wentz defeated Dallas Cowboys and got into the playoffs. So Dak Prescott, what does Dak Prescott need? You could see them going a receiver here. I have seen Justin Herbert linked. I'm sorry, Justin Jefferson. Sorry, excuse me, guys. I have had Justin Jefferson linked to them at number 17. You could also see them go safety. Xavier McKinney, very talented safety from the University of Alabama. But I actually have them going edge rusher. They already have. They already got the one edge rusher on one side. They need that other edge rusher coming from the other side. They lose. They lose the defensive end to the Chicago Bears and Robert Quinn. So with the 17th overall selection in my mock draft 2.0, I have the Dallas Cowboys selecting Kalavon Chaisson, outside linebacker, defensive end from LSU. And you watch the tape on him. He was a 5-star guy coming out of high school. He's going to be a speed rusher. He's going to get outside the edge with his speed, but can also has great hands and things like that. Can drop in coverage. I've watched the tape on him. He can do that a little bit as well, but getting after the quarterback, man, I tell you again and again, that is where it's won in the NFL. So if you can protect your quarterback and if you can get after the quarterback, you're going to be in a good position. So he was a first-team All-SEC guy this year, 13.5 tackles for loss. You should see those numbers even go up once he gets developed and everything in the NFL. So Kalavon Chaisson going to the Dallas Cowboys at 17 to play for, some people say, America's team. All right, so that puts now on the clock with the 18th overall pick. This puts the Miami Dolphins now on the clock, and with the 18th overall pick, you've already seen them select Tua Tagovailoa in my mock draft, in this same exact mock draft at number 5. So what you could see here for the Miami Dolphins at 18, they also have the 26th overall pick. So I think you go one of two ways here at 18 if you're Miami. You go and get one of the best offensive tackles on the board, and then possibly a Jones from Houston or a one of these other offensive tackles from Boise State. Possibly you could see them maybe select one of them early in the first round. But I have them maybe trying a redo on the Alabama safety thing they did a few years ago with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Them. Of course, Minkah Fitzpatrick played one season, then wanted to be traded. They traded him to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who actually traded them their pick as well. So, and what you see here, and this is the 18th pick from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I actually have them selecting a safety in this draft to replace a Minkah Fitzpatrick. Rashard Jones is getting on up there in age, the great Georgia great safety they had. So I actually have the Miami Dolphins selecting Xavier McKinney, my number 1 rated safety from the University of Alabama. And if you turn on the tape on him, he is all over the field, sideline to sideline, breaking up passes, intercepting balls, picking up fumbles, and taking them to the house. I mean, I absolutely love Xavier McKinney. He was the heart and soul of that Alabama defense. I know he's a first-time all SEC this past season, but Xavier McKinney, what he can do from the safety position, you see these safeties, these freak athletes, Earl Thomases and things like that. I think Xavier McKinney can kind of be in that realm of players, and I think that Xavier McKinney would be a great selection for the Dallas Cowboys. He could be a great selection for the Dallas Cowboys at 17. That was very hard for me to pass on McKinney at 17, but I don't think the Dolphins could pass on McKinney if he slides to them at 18 overall. So the Miami Dolphins, that's now their number 2 overall pick in this draft. They also have one coming up at 26. So with that being said, this now puts the Las Vegas Raiders on the clock, guys. And I know you just want to hear that sound now. You've been watching. You just can't wait to hear that sound. The Las Vegas Raiders are now on the clock. And John Gruden and Mike Mayock, the GM, what are they going to do here? I had them selecting a CeeDee Lamb at number 12. So you could see them maybe go quarterback here and go 2 offensive weapons. But that defense, you traded away Khalil Mack a few years ago. I know you drafted the young safety from Mississippi State this past year. You also selected the outside linebacker from Clemson as well last year at number 4 with Farrell. So I think they need to go get them a tackling machine from the linebacker spot, and you could see them go any two ways right here. You could see them go Patrick Queen, linebacker from LSU, had a lot of good tape this year, played for the national champions LSU. But I actually have them going with a linebacker who played in the Big 12 this year. I know Big 12 doesn't get a lot of praise for playing defense, but this particular player was all over the field. He's very twitchy. He can rush the passer. He can also get after the quarterback, and then he can drop back in coverage. As a 3-year starter at Oklahoma, 102 tackles this past year, 17 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, and also 4 sacks coming from that linebacker spot. So you go and get a linebacker who's all over the field, and then you get CeeDee Lamb at number 12. I mean, that is a home run draft for Mike Mayock and John Gruden, and now you can kind of start building and doing what you want to with this football team. So you get you a tackling machine like Kenneth Murray, you get you a wide receiver to pair with Derek Carr or Marcus Mariota in CeeDee Lamb. I mean, I think I would just absolutely love that if I was a Las Vegas Raiders fan. So I had them going Jordan Love in my first mock draft, but the more I listen to Mike Mayock, I've heard him on some interviews the last few days, the more it sounds like they are going to skip on a quarterback, and I think they're going to draft Kenneth Murray, a linebacker from Oklahoma. So let me go ahead and make that selection. And with that selection being said, that now puts the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock, guys. And with this pick, guys, so I had them going cornerback at number 9 with a Jeff Okudah sliding to them. If Jacksonville could get Jeff Okudah at number 9 and hopefully he slides them, they don't have to move up, that would be a home run hit for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what you can do with the 20th overall pick is I think you have to dress either an edge rusher or possibly an offensive player to go along with some of the players you have on the offense already. And guard Minshew Mania, yes, it was big time last year, and he can play football. He's definitely a serviceable quarterback. Is he your franchise guy? I'm not sure. I'm not completely sold on a 6th or 7th round draft pick from last year who played at East Carolina and then transferred, had a big year at Washington State, burst onto the scene just because he's got a great personality, the mustache, everything like that with guard Minshew. He is a good talent, but bring another quarterback in to compete with him. And this quarterback I'm talking about bringing in right here is a quarterback who has risen up draft boards a lot and can make a lot of plays with his feet outside the pocket. Has been compared to a Patrick Mahomes, a poor man Patrick Mahomes, guys. And like I've said in the past, if you're being compared to Patrick Mahomes in any sense, you are getting it done. So Jordan Love, guys, I have him going to the Jacksonville Jaguars with the 20th overall pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. So this was a selection I had Herbert at in my first mock draft. Herbert's kind of risen up draft boards. I see Jordan Love going between 20 and 30 in this draft. And if I skipped on him at 20, it was going to be a tough decision for New England at 23. If they picked up Jordan Love, I would see Jordan Love sliding no further than 30 to the Green Bay Packers. But Jordan Love, what he did his sophomore year was a little bit better on tape than his junior year. Lost 9 starters this past season. But Jordan Love is a heck of a player, and if you can get him in and you can develop him, he doesn't have to play right away. He can learn from a guard Minshew who went through this last year as well, and then maybe you have something there with Minshew and Love, and they can compete, and you can see which guy you want to build with. So I have them selecting Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. All right, guys. So with that being said, that will now put the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock. And boy, I know they love their football in Philly, okay? And this past season, they had a lot of players on offense, specifically wide receivers, drop a lot of passes. I mean, they probably led the league in drop passes. Alshon Jeffrey's getting on up there. You got the 2 tight ends with Ertz and Dallas Goedert. You got those players. But what are you going to do with wide receiver? And this is a very, very deep wide receiver class. Carson Wentz, go get Carson Wentz a new toy to play with. And I actually have them selecting with the 21st overall pick in the Kicking It with Crowder mock draft 2.0. I have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, LSU, guys. If you watch the tape on him this past year, he was explosive. Once he got the ball in his hands, he was making guys miss. His run after the catch was incredible. And also, not only that, he had 111 catches playing with Joe Burrow this past year. So Chase and Jefferson definitely had the best 1-2 combo. Then you have the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback you played with. Justin Jefferson's brother, of course, Jordan, played quarterback at LSU, so the family genes are there. And I think Justin Jefferson could go higher in this draft. You could see him go 15 to Denver. You could also see him go 17 to the Cowboys. Jacksonville could use another weapon on the outside if they believe in Minshew. So I really think that Justin Jefferson is a high riser in this draft, and I have him solid as my number 4 overall receiver, and he's definitely climbed up that for me. I've had some guys fall a little bit. I've had some guys rise in the wide receiver selection. So that makes it 4 right now going in my NFL mock draft. And guys, I'll go ahead and spoil it for you. I have some more receivers coming off the board. So you're going to see 6 to 7 receivers get selected this year in the NFL draft. I certainly believe that, and Justin Jefferson is going to be a playmaker from day one, and I really think that he's going to get it done for the Philadelphia Eagles. So let me just make this selection real quick on here. There he is, Justin Jefferson. All right, and now I'm going to put on the clock. All right. So with that sound, you know someone's on the clock, and that puts the Minnesota Vikings on the clock. So they have the number 22 overall pick. They have the number 25 overall pick. Could they package those two guys and maybe go get a stud receiver or replace? They need a defense. They need a new cornerback. They lost 2 cornerbacks in free agency. They also lost Everson Griffin. They lost Stephon Diggs. I mean, you could go any type of way. I actually have them staying pat and staying at 22 and 25 and getting 2 impact players on both sides of the ball. So the Minnesota Vikings with the 22 overall pick in the NFL mock draft 2.0. I actually have them selecting Christian Fulton, cornerback from LSU. This guy was a 5-star receiver coming out of high school, and he lived up to everything and then some. Led LSU to a national championship this past year, was a 2-year starter, had 38 tackles and then 1 interception, 14 pass breakups as a junior. May have actually been their number 2 corner. I know they had a true freshman last year, Stingley, who is a phenomenal talent. He'll be taking his talents to the NFL in a few years, but Christian Fulton, you watch the tape, he had a bunch of pass breakups as a sophomore. He did get suspended early on in his career, so look out for that, some maybe character issues and things like that. But I think everything I've gotten from Christian Fulton is he's a competitor. He's going to step in, can play in the slot, can also play outside as well. And you don't have to rush him in per se. So I actually have Christian Fulton being selected 22 overall to the Minnesota Vikings. All right. And this next team is going to pick 23rd, man. You haven't heard them pick 23rd in a long time, and that now puts the New England Patriots on the clock, guys. And there is no Tom Brady. You get rid of Tom Brady, and what is the first draft pick under the new Tom Brady? I'm sorry, now Bill Belichick and no Tom Brady. What is the first draft pick going to be post Tom Brady? You could go quarterback here. You could go linebacker. You could go edge rusher. You could go receiver in a loaded wide receiver draft. So I actually have the New England selecting is an edge rusher who's really shot up draft boards. The more tape you see on him, the more stuff you like. He's played at a Wisconsin program who has produced a lot of offensive linemen, but now I actually have them selecting the number 23 overall pick. The New England Patriots select Zach Bond. He's an outside linebacker, edge rusher from Wisconsin. Really fits that Patriots, that Patriot way. Is going to put his foot in the dirt and come to work, put his hand in the dirt and come to work every single day. He's 6'3", 240 pounds. Really reminds me of like a TJ Watt type player. And TJ Watt, a lot of teams passed on him. He went in the 30s when he was drafted. So I'm really excited to see where Zach Bond goes. You could see him go 23 to the Patriots, 24 to the Saints, or possibly 28 to the Ravens. So I have Bond definitely sliding in to that first round. I think I got a first round grade on him automatically. So he will be in the first round, I think. But if he's not in the first round, he'll be very, very early second round. So Zach Bond made a lot of plays for a Wisconsin team that shocked a lot of people this past year. They really, really played good. And I'm trying to find him real quick, Bond, so I can put him in there. Boom. He is selected. All right. So there we go. I can just type in the player. That makes it a lot easier. All right. Let me see right here. Patrick Queen. All right. So, with that being said, guys, the New Orleans Saints are now on the clock, and after 3 devastating postseason losses, what is next for the New Orleans Saints? Drew Brees is on the end of his career, and he still has some left in the tank. He signed for $40 million for 2 seasons, so at least you got Drew Brees for 1 season. I know Sean Payton came out and said he thinks this is Drew Brees' last season, but you could possibly see Drew Brees play 2 more seasons and continue to break records. So what do they need? They got the wide receiver in Thomas. They got Kamara, the running back. They have a good offensive line. They did lose Malcolm Jenkins. I'm sorry, they added Malcolm Jenkins from the Philadelphia Eagles, so they're good in the safety position. So I actually have them selecting a linebacker, and they're not going to go. They're not going to have to go very far to select this linebacker who played his college ball at LSU in Louisiana. And with the 24th overall pick, the New Orleans Saints select Patrick Queen, linebacker from LSU. And what's this thing with Patrick Queen? He's a first-year starter, had 85 tackles this year, 12 for loss, 3 sacks, 2 pass breakups. So his film, he was all over the film, and he started 4 games as a sophomore as well, so has really, really improved the past 2 seasons, and I really like his tape. He's a run stopper, but he can cover guys, but you will see him basically on first and second down, getting after the quarterback, getting after running backs, covering guys coming across the middle and things like that. So Patrick Queen, have him going number 24 overall to the New Orleans Saints. And with that being said, that now puts the Minnesota Vikings, who I just talked about just a few minutes ago, this puts them back on the clock. And when you hear that sound, guys, you know that your team has to knock this draft out of the park. And with 2 first-round draft picks, it makes it that much more. You gotta hit on these draft picks. You can't select a guy and he just doesn't develop. You get the extra 5th-year option with some of these first-round picks, guys. So if they play well, you can lock them up for a 5th year and then possibly sign them to a long-term extension. And the Minnesota Vikings, guys, They lost Stephon Diggs, and they lost Xavier Rhodes. They lost Everson Griffin. Excuse me. So they lose Griffin, and I had them selecting Christian Fulton at 22. So you could go edge rusher right here, A.J. Espenza from Iowa. You could also go Gross Matos from Penn State. But I actually had them going on the offensive side of the football. So I want them to replace Stephon Diggs. So they're not going to probably be able to replace him with one player. But you can start with a 6'3", 220-pound receiver from the University of Baylor. Really, really high on Denzel Mims, guys. 3-year starter for Baylor. Earned first team all Big 12 honors this past year, 66 catches, over 1,000 yards, also 12 touchdowns. So he's got the frame. He's bigger than Stephon Diggs. You already have Adam Thielen. So you pair Adam Thielen with a guy like Denzel Mims, who can be a red zone target for Kirk Cousins. You already have the tight end in Irv Smith and Kyle Rudolph. So you have those two tight ends. You go get Kirk Cousins another weapon. You have Dalvin Cook. And you could see them easily go 2 defensive players right here with replacing that defense, but I have them going Denzel Mims, wide receiver from Baylor, with the 25th overall pick, guys. And Denzel Mims, that marks my number 5 wide receiver drafted so far in this draft. So stay tuned. I do have more wide receivers coming off the board. Little spoiler alert right there. Okay, guys. So with the 26th overall pick now, the Miami Dolphins are on the clock, and with that being said, I got to play the clock music. So Miami Dolphins, their 3rd overall pick. What are they going to do with this 3rd overall pick? Or are they going to trade 18 and 26 and try to move up? Or are they going to try to move up in the draft and get a quarterback? If they stand pat and get a quarterback at 5 and then take an impact type player like Xavier McKinney, like I have them taking at 18, you could really see them knock this draft out of the park with this last pick. So the last pick right here, it was either an offensive tackle, one of these talented offensive tackles you have in this draft, or a little gadget guy who can run between the tackles, can help your quarterback out, be your quarterback's best friend. Pair Tua Tagovailoa with DeAndre Swift and then Xavier McKinney, 3 SEC guys who performed all SEC. I think that would just be an absolute home run for the Miami Dolphins, and you can really start to rebuild in a division that doesn't have Tom Brady anymore. Tom Brady is gone. I know the Dolphins fans and Bills fans, they're singing hallelujah, okay? I know Tom Brady, they had to deal with him for 20 years, but the division, I'm not sure if the Buffalo Bills are there yet. They are a very, very good football team. They made the playoffs this past season, but can they step up and win that division, or can the Miami Dolphins, led by Brian Flores and some of these free agents they signed, can they make an impact and possibly be a wild card team next year with these 3 selections? So the Miami Dolphins, I have them at 5, selecting Tua Tagovailoa. I also have them selecting Xavier McKinney at 18 and DeAndre Swift at 26. So heck of a draft by the Miami Dolphins. So that now puts on the clock at the number 27 overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks. And I really, really enjoy watching Russell Wilson play football. Pete Carroll, they go together very, very well. I really, really enjoy watching them compete and coach together and play together. They're going to need a guy out on the outside, guys. They're going to need they could go receiver. They've already paired with Lockett and DK Metcalf. Also, you could see them going defense. And with Clowney, you don't really know what Clowney's doing right now. So Clowney is a free agent right now, so you could see them possibly selecting an edge rusher. And with the 27th overall pick, guys, in the 2020 NFL Kicking It with Crowder mock draft 2.0, I had the Seattle Seahawks selecting A.J. Espenza, defensive end from the University of Iowa, and his tape is very, very good. His 18 tape's a little bit better than his 2019 tape, but he can be a guy that you can put in the system and rotate along the defensive end, playing 8 or 9 guys on the defensive line. He can give you valuable snaps from day one. Probably not going to be maybe just be a third down type player to start with early in his career, but I think A.J. Espenza, the talent is there. He was a very, very highly recruited player coming out of high school, 5-star recruit. So A.J. Espenza, one of maybe the Falcons to look at him earlier in the draft, but I have the Seattle Seahawks selecting A.J. Espenza, number 27. He was a first team. He was a second team All-American this year. 49 tackles, 14.5 for loss, and 11.5 sacks, guys. So the production is there, and I think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to get a great player at 27. All right, guys. So that is going to put the going to put the Baltimore Ravens now on the clock. And the Baltimore Ravens, I could talk about them all day, what they did this past season with Lamar Jackson, owning the best record in the entire NFL, but losing guys in the divisional round to the Tennessee Titans, who kind of bullied them a little bit, ran the ball down their throat, and you're not used to seeing the Baltimore Ravens be affected like that up front. And also, they not only got after Lamar Jackson, but their offensive line really shut down that defensive line in that game. So the Baltimore Ravens, what do you do here? You're 14-2. You could go edge rusher. You could go get some guys for that defense. I know you got Judon, who you franchise. You also have some other players as well with the Baltimore Ravens. But I'm going to go get Lamar Jackson, one of these new toys. I can be a quarterback's best friend, either a running back out of the backfield to catch passes or a very, very reliable wide receiver. And with the number 30 overall pick, I do have T. Higgins, wide receiver from the University of Clemson, going to the Baltimore Ravens here at 28. T. Higgins is a guy I really, really like. His tape last year was a little bit better than this year, which is weird that has happened with some of these guys. Their tape the year before was a little bit better, but it's because these coaches game plan for players like T. Higgins, man. You watch the tape, you see T. Higgins, you better come into with a game plan defending T. Higgins, guys. So T. Higgins, he's a bigger receiver. I know they got Hollywood Brown last year. He's a 5'10" kind of slot guy going across the middle and things like that. But T. Higgins is a big guy, 6'4", explosive game-changing receiver. Can really has great size and also great speed. He's not the 4.2 burner or anything like that, but he's a solid 4.5 guy, and he's a very solid vertical threat. Really reminds me a little bit of a Devontae Adams type player. So I have the Baltimore Ravens, guys. What's up, Zach? I got the Baltimore Ravens selecting T. Higgins, wide receiver from the University of Clemson at 28. If they do not pass, if they pass on T. Higgins here at 28, possibly see them go after an edge rusher who actually it would be my next pick if Baltimore passes on him. Look for Baltimore to select either at 28 or 29. So with that being said, I'm going to select T. Higgins over here in my little mock. I got T. Higgins on the board, and that's going to put the Tennessee Titans, who I just talked about beating the Baltimore Ravens this past year. And what Tennessee did, man, they ran the football. They did not turn over the football. Ryan Tannehill managed the game. Derrick Henry, what he did in the playoffs, those 3 games, he's incredible. Led the league in rushing. They did lose one of their offensive tackles to the Cleveland Browns, so you could possibly see them draft an offensive tackle in a very, very good offensive line draft. But what I have them doing is getting after the quarterback, man. You're going to hear it time in and time out. You got to protect the quarterback, and you have to get after the quarterback. And they could use an edge rusher in Tennessee. And Mike Vrabel, he loves these defensive guys. That's his pedigree. He's a linebacker, and he wants to get after the quarterback. And what I have Tennessee selecting with the 29th overall pick in my mock draft 2.0, I have them selecting Yetur Gross-Matos. He's a defensive end edge rusher from Penn State. Very, very good player. Had 10 sacks the last 2 seasons. When he pops up on the tape, you notice him. He's number 99 this past season for Penn State. So let me try to find him real quick. There he is. All right, so Gross-Matos, he's a 2-year starter, like I said. First team All Big Ten this past year, 15 tackles for loss, 9.5 sacks as a junior, guys. So Tennessee, I think they get great value here at 29 for him, and he can be a guy who can come in on 3rd down and get after the quarterback. So you could see Tennessee go offensive tackle here to replace the guy they lost to Cleveland, but I do have them selecting edge rusher Gross-Matos from Penn State. And he is a heck of a player. I know James Franklin hated to lose them this past year. All right, so that now puts the Green Bay Packers on the clock. Let me see right here. There he is. All right, go ahead and play that real quick. So, with the 30th overall pick, the Green Bay Packers are now on the clock. And everything I'm reading from, everything I'm Everything I'm reading is that the Green Bay Packers are going to go wide receiver right here. So with that being said, you have some talented receivers already off the board. Had T. Higgins going to Green Bay at 30, but just decided to go Baltimore with T. Higgins at 28 on this mock draft. Had T. Higgins fallen to them at another draft. But I have the Green Bay selecting. You could see maybe a Denzel Mims if he's still on the board here at 30. You could possibly see him selected, but I have them selecting, and this guy's going to play in the slot. Going to remind a lot of people kind of a Randall Cobb type receiver, and his name is Brandon Ayuk. He's a wide receiver from Arizona State. Herm Edwards is very, very high on him, coaching him the past 2 seasons for the Arizona State. The Arizona State football team. Herm Edwards is very, very high on him. He's got great hands. He runs great routes. He's 6 foot, 215 pounds, can get in and out of his breaks, great hands. And I really think that you get a guy like this he can extend Aaron Rodgers' career, hopefully a few years. You already have the very talented wide receiver Devontae Adams, but you know the Green Bay Packers haven't really been able to find that number 2 wide receiver. They have a couple guys who are very talented, but they haven't been able to find that number 2 overall receiver. He's a sure-handed pass catcher, guys, and he's really effective in short and intermediate routes. So, the little slants, the little digs, and the in routes and things like that, guys. So I'm very, very excited to see Brandon Ayuk paired up with an Aaron Rodgers type player. Thought about going quarterback here at 30. Also thought about maybe going offensive tackle at 30 as well. But I'm going to get Aaron Rodgers one of these brand new weapons in a very, very stacked and loaded wide receiver class. So that is my last wide receiver coming off the board. And with that being said, that is 7 wide receivers I had going in my first round. So 7 wide receivers going in the first round. I've seen as many as 8 in the mock drafts, and you're going to see a lot of wide receivers come off the board here in the second round as well. So with that being said, I'm going to select Ayuk right here in my mock draft. There he is. And that now puts with the 31st overall pick, it puts the San Francisco 49ers on the clock. And they did lose in the Super Bowl this past year, but I will say they did a great job in the rebuild. John Lynch, what he did to this football team, hiring Kyle Shanahan and kind of believing in that kind of downhill zone scheme they run. They got the 3 running backs, the 3-headed monster with Coleman and Mozart, and the former Georgia Southern running back as well, McKeenan and Matt Breida. So they got 4 really good running backs. They're probably going to have to cut at least one of those guys this coming season. So what do? I had them selecting a wide receiver, Henry Ruggs, at 13. You could maybe see them kind of revamp that defensive line after losing DeForest Buckner. You got Armstead, you got Bosa, you also got Kittle, a tight end. So you got a lot of skill there on the offensive and defensive line. So what will they do here at 31? I think they may shore up that defensive backfield. And what better way to do that with a guy who can cover a number 1 wide receiver? And that is Jeff Gladney. With the 31st overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers select Jeff Gladney, quarterback from TCU, a guy who has really snuck up on my radar, has come into my top 50 prospects. I had him a little outside in the early 50s, slid him now inside the top 50. And you watch the tape on him, he is a very, very good receiver, can absolutely make plays all over the field, can cover your best guy, and he's got great ball skills. So Jeff Gladney, he's a 4-year starter at TCU. So you start for 4 years, you came in, you're ready, you're prepared, ready to make an impact possibly in the NFL in his first year. All Big First Team, all Big 12. Also had 31 tackles, 1 interception this past year. One reason they didn't have that high interception number, teams didn't throw his way. He was that good. And also he was a second team all Big 12 guy last year, had 41 tackles as well. So Jeff Gladney going to step in and produce hopefully for the San Francisco 49ers team, and I have him going at 31 overall, guys. So with that being said, I'm going to pick Gladney in my mock right here. There he is. And with that being said, this now puts the Kansas City Chiefs on the clock, guys. So Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions from last year. What more do you need, man, from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? They got it done this past season, and Patrick Mahomes only going in now this will be his fourth season. He's only started 2 years. Remember, he sat out his first season. So you got the offense, you got the quarterback, and then you also got Tyreek Hill, the wide receiver. They're going to lock him up. You got Kelsey, the tight end, right there. So you got the three-headed monster there. They also have a very, very talented running back in Damian Williams. He's more of a little scat back, can catch the ball out of the backfield, but also run between the tackles. I'm sure you guys remember him in the Super Bowl. Had a very, very great game, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So what do they do at 32? Kansas City, you could see them go possibly another running back to pair with Damian Williams. I really like Cam Akers, a running back who I have going in the second round. I like J.K. Dobbins, another running back I have going in the second round. Jonathan Taylor, a guy who slid a little bit for me. I had him at 24 overall at Miami. Really, really thought about him here at number 32 with Kansas City Chiefs to pair up with Damian Williams, more of a scat back, catch the ball out of the backfield guy. Jonathan Taylor, more of a downhill guy, run between the tackles. But what I decided to do here at Kansas City, they did lose their cornerback who went to the Redskins, Kendall Fuller. So they lose him. They also have a good safety in Tyrann Mathieu. Thought about Grant Delpit here at 32, guys. But what I decided to do was I decided to take a good, very, very good cornerback. You're going to be in a division with the Raiders, with the Chargers, and with the Broncos. You're going to need a number one corner type player to step up. And with that number 32 overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs, I have them selecting A.J. Terrell, cornerback from Clemson, to round out my first round. He is a cornerback from Clemson. A lot of you guys remember him for getting burned a few times in the national championship game. And I will say, if you put those two plays behind him, what A.J. Terrell did this year at Clemson was really, really good. He had a lot of good film. He's been in that Clemson program that has produced a lot of NFL players. He knows how to go to work every day. Dabo Swinney is very high on A.J. Terrell, and I think that he's a very athletic guy with high upside. He's physical. He's not going to back down from competition, and that's what you need with a corner. You need a guy who's going to step in front of the wide receiver, look him dead in the eyes, and know you're going to have a long day ahead of you. So he's a very, very good crossing the field and covering other wide receivers as well, so can come out of the zone or can play man-to-man. A.J. Terrell, a cornerback from the University of Clemson, coming in at 32, guys. So, hey, tell me what you think, guys. Tell me what you think down below. Don't be afraid to comment. Let me know if you agree with my mock draft. It's just a mock draft, guys. Don't take it too seriously, okay? So I really, really enjoy bringing this to you today. I also want to shout out Columbus Television, Columbus Podcasting Studio for having me here today. I really, really enjoyed it, guys. So you can find me every Wednesday. I will be going live every Wednesday with Kicking It with Crowder. Don't forget, guys, you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Apple. You can find me on Spotify and the iHeartRadio app. So I will be dropping this content later on tomorrow or Friday. What we're going to be doing is post-editing and everything, getting it ready. And then what we'll also be doing is dropping the podcast tomorrow or later tonight as well, with some really good audio and things like that, guys. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure. Come kick it every week with Kicking It with Crowder. Thank you, guys.